Welcome back, y'all, to Tyler Talks. Got a different, unique video today. We are going to talk about the schools of thought, and I broke down from a deck building, deck philosophy from different players, and I kind of categorized it into different players, and then I say, from my opinion, what their school of thought is for a deck. So I don't want to speak for them. It's just how I've seen over the years that these players, kind of how they play, their play style, and how that reflects in deck building. The overall topic, the greater message today, is net decking, which net decking is just if you see this deck and you like it, you can just take the deck verbatim, either recreate it with your cards or in Lackey, or just copy paste the Lackey list into Lackey and save it, and boom, there you go. The issue I see with net decking is if your school of thought and your play style doesn't match the person that you're net decking from, and it can become very difficult to pilot a deck when you didn't make it because your deck philosophy and how you want to play, how you want to win, why you include cards in your deck differs from the deck architect. So the first school of thought we're going to get into is Jared and Joe. And you'll see a lot of these people that I paired them with, there's going to be an influence there. So Jared and Joe, same play group. They play, and here you go. Look at what I did for you all. This is one of Jared's decks. So Jared, what I wrote down, Jared and Joe, they play kind of less characters, more enhancements, more support, more utility cards. They don't always play 50. They don't shy away from 57. That's not always the case because Jared will play. I know he'll test with like 55 and eventually bring it down to 50, but he doesn't shy away from playing a deck in a tournament that's not 50, at least from my understanding. Oh, and also I want to say why I chose these people. The people that I'm talking about today are because they either share their decks, they share their philosophy, they've done interviews before on their decks, or they're just long tenured players. Jared does a lot of deck sharing, and when he's around, he does some video content too and shares his thoughts. So Joe and I always talk on Discord about just ideas, and they both influence each other, I think. So they tend to play more support, more utility, more dual. One big one aspect of more dual is because Jared does like blue, and blue tends to play that being utility and dual. But I say the main aspect for Jared and Joe, it's the enhancement support. We might not see it right here with 5 enhancements, but because you have the evil and the dual that you can play on both, the enhancement support overall is a lot. Like if we look at Covenant being artifact and enhancement, 2 more here, even though we use them as the stars is the concept. That's why Jared puts them over here and not over here. Still 8 enhancements with the ability to use 3 enhancements over here, and the ability to use 2 others and a Covenant. So just a lot more enhancement support overall from Jared. And you'll tend to see less heroes in his main deck, and you will see a lot more characters in his reserve. I've always noticed that. So even though his main deck might not have as many heroes or as many ways to heroes, he will still have a lot of characters overall. The next school of thought is the Josh and Jay. So Josh and Jay have a lot of influence, where Josh has a very technical approach to deck building, analytical, which I like. And it's how many ways to a hero. And Josh does a lot of Josh has done videos on his thought process. So if you go to YouTube and I think go to Zerubbabel's Temple on YouTube, you'll see Josh's where he explains like the statistics and breaking down your odds to get a character. So this is a Josh deck, and you'll see I think he started doing 5 evil enhancements now. I used to see 3, but it's very much 7 evil characters, 5 enhancements, a lot of the just consistency pieces. And then with both Josh and Jay, you're gonna see 50 cards. You won't see anything more than that. Now his says 49. He must have reloaded and put one in, but Josh would love to play 49. He'd find a way. You're always going to see Hopper and Virgin Birth. You're going to see the underdeck a card from hand to draw one in Prosperity in every deck. And then you're really going to see as many ways as possible to get to, and this is for Josh and Jay, to get to what they're doing. If you look at Honeypot as another example, Jay very much has all the ways to set up. So even though you need 5 pieces for Honeypot, Jay has all the ways to get there. That is Jay kind of adopting Josh's deck approach into his own playstyle. But you'll very much see Josh and Jay play consistency, streamlined, 50 cards, know your line of attacks and how to get there quickly and repeatedly. This is called Camp David. This is a Jay brainchild deck that Josh then made. So Josh will have an idea, very much like me, just have the idea and boom, make the deck so at least it's out of my mind and somewhere else so I don't think about it. But this is kind of the brainchild of Jay and Josh. But you'll see Hopper, very surprised Virgin Birth isn't in this one. But if you look at Josh lines up his cards that get a hero with his heroes as well. So you'll see the support cards that can get to heroes. And you also saw in his last build, Daenerys. Here he has David's Harp. So even his artifacts tend to get resources. King's Signet Ring and David's Harp doing that in his last build. And all ways to get to what you're trying to accomplish. So Josh and Jay, very much 50 cards. They don't have to be blazing fast. You won't see that with Josh and Jay. They'll be more get to what I'm trying to do by searching. And then if I need to draw some cards, I can. But I want to get to my board state as early as possible. Jared and Joe, they also aren't going to focus on a ton of drawing. They're going to try to play out mid-range. Jared always talks about being a mid-range player. The next one is, and Josh and Jay, they talk all the time. So that's why you can see the influence there and why I lumped them together. The other two, my next school of thought, Jaden and Justin. And you could obviously see the influence there. Justin being a big part in mentoring and teaching Jaden when he was younger, probably a bunch of the brothers. Justin and Jaden are very hard to net deck. They play situational redemption in my mind. They have specific cards for specific reasons. I think the reserve made Justin and Jaden even better players. They are some of the best reserve deck builders, to where why am I using my reserve? Some players will use it as additional power, push with the offense or have blocks with the defense. Jaden and Justin will do that, but they'll also make sure to have a couple pieces in there to get out. And this is an absolutely perfect example right here. This is a situational card that is in the reserve. Jaden might go 10 games. He might only use 3 nails once or twice. I guarantee you he uses it to the best ability when he needs it and has a way to it. So for Jaden and Justin, I am Sustainer, not being used. Jaden seeing the meta and bringing in a card that he feels works well to go against other outside cards that mess with what he's trying to do. I don't have one for Justin. I tried to get a good picture of Jaden. We always just get the absolute worst pictures of Jaden for the internet, and it always makes it fun. So I purposely made sure Jaden to continue. This is from actual YouTube that I paused, started. until I had one where Jaden's looking at the camera and not doing something crazy. So he becomes another meme. But this is one deck where I wanted to show really the mindset of Jaden that it is hard to net deck his decks. This is a Sons of Jacob posty build where he can use Jehu to manipulate his bands. You'll see a lot of it almost, how do you rescue? You have an amazing faith and then you can hit their hand twice here. But Jaden finds a way. He knows his rescues. He knows what he's looking to do. Same with Justin. If you look at their decks, and I've studied their decks for years, they're national winning decks. You look at them and you're like, there's not any battle winners in here. There's just a few, completely different from the next school of thought we're going to go into. But there doesn't feel like there's any battle winners on offense, hardly. Yet somehow they get to 5. I was about to say 7 because Justin and Jaden and I play so much type 2. But they get to 5, and they find ways to get there. So they are very much they do not shy away from 57. Both Justin and Jaden have had great success with 57. Jaden got 4th last year and was pretty much a lost soul or a point away from either playing for 3rd or 2nd or ranking. I don't know exactly the situation there, but he was like a point away or a lost soul away from being right there at 3rd. I think there was a 2-way tie at 4. But he was playing 57. Justin's had a lot of success this year with 57 card decks. So I see them as situational play. They know their decks. They know how to get out of situations. And they very much like to control the board and what you can and can't do. And they're constantly trying to get more information, whether it's seeing your hand, seeing your deck, and then figuring out your lines of play and stopping what you can and can't do. The next school of thought is Chad and Jeremy. They do not influence each other. Maybe they talk in DMs. I don't know. But they do not influence each other to my knowledge. What's funny is this post, this is Chad's deck, was right after Jeremy posted his Because of Matthew deck. And then Chad goes, well, that's funny. Jay's calling. Sorry, Jay, doing a video. Chad then responded or replied to Jeremy and said, funny you say that, we're on the same wavelength. And this was one of Chad's decks where he was playing a Because of Matthew, and you'll very much see Chad's ideas, and Chad very much has his own school of thought, generating resources, turn 0 interaction. They're not entirely together, Chad and Jeremy. Chad is going to really capitalize on turn 0, but both of them are generating resources, playing aggressive, and really wanting to capitalize in the battle. Like, they can get resources outside, but they really want to do the damage in the battle and always generate their resources. They're going to, for Chad and Jeremy, another reason I group them together is consistency meets aggression. They will play aggressive. They will play 50 cards. And they will very much be battle focused for the both of them. So now Jeremy got 2nd last year, and threw this guy in his deck, and was able to control things outside of battle as well as just in. So I think if you incorporate that, Chad's had a lot of success over the last 2 years. He hasn't been able to play in Type 1 at Nationals. He should be able to this year. I'm hoping for big things for him. Not to put additional stress on him. He's just been playing so well. That one thing Chad does is pushes that extra. He has the turn 0 down packed. He generates resources in the battle, outside the battle, and impacts areas around the battle. Like, he's going to have the negate neutrals and a few other things. Jeremy, very much consistency in the battle winners as well. So I did lump them together. But you got to understand where they're coming from. If you play like Baboony Tim just talked about his deck, where he took aspects of Chad Soul Surfer and Joe Mama's Nazi Prison, and he pieced them together. And that's what I always talk about net decking. take the deck, tweak it to your playstyle, what you like, or look at a deck and say, well, what do I not like here, or what do I want to take away from it? Do I want to bring in any aspects, or do I want to change it up? Or do I want to take a little bit of this and a little bit of this? And that's what I really like that Babooni took two very strong decks and very good strategies of turn 0. Chad Soul Surfer turn 0 with Joe Mama's aggressive Nazi prison of playing Nazareth when they want to play it, and then hey, my opponent has to do something against it. If not, well, guess what? I can still search. And that's where I think the epitome of net decking comes together. Where you take Gabe just talked about this on Discord. You take the best, you study the best of the best, and kind of take those aspects. The last one, the school of thought. I'm going to put myself on there. But I got Agar the Wise, Zach Gilbaugh, and myself. We're a little bit more balanced players and maybe mid-range. So both of these are Jake's decks, and then I'll go into mine, and that'll be my segue into the video, right? It's not bad. But this is one of Jake's decks he's used. The nativity that, to my knowledge, he's whooping people with when you look at who Jake has played in the Lackey Grand Prix and in the Zoom, it doesn't seem like he's losing to anyone. And he's playing really good players and winning. So he plays balanced decks. And Jake beat Zach Gilbaugh. Zach Gilbaugh and I played in this last Lackey, and we tied. And Jake beat Zach, and if I get the win on Justin, that'll be a very difficult game. If I get the win on Justin, and Jake wins against Jake Arrowwood, Jacob, they're playing. Then winners play. But either way, it's going to be Justin versus Jake or versus Jacob or me versus 25% chance there of Jake and I playing. I very much want to play Jake, and it's interesting because whenever Zach Gilbaugh and I play, we always have very grindy games. Jake very much can play the mid range, and I think he's doing so well now compared to last year, where I specifically wanted to point out one of his main decks where he did well last year, but he said not necessarily that he tends to play slow, but he can block and he can rescue all day. It's how quickly can you push through, though. And I think he found a deck that's a little quicker about pushing through. Because I don't think Jake really necessarily lost a game last year. But it's more so a matter of getting the full wins. So what kind of prompted this whole video is Jay, and he never speaks badly of Jake, and Jake should never even, Jake Agar the Wise should never be looked at as an arch nemesis, because Jake is such a good person and a great brother in Christ. Jay was more so saying how do I beat him? And it was after the next whooping Jake put on Jay. And that's kind of where Jay and I started talking about Agar's approach. And I was like, man, I hope to beat Justin just so I could play Jake if Jake wins. Because I haven't been able to play him yet. And I really love playing great players, especially players I haven't played before. So, hoping to play Jake. His play style, I very much think he loves this deck. This is probably his baby, but then found something else that still goes to his play style. And if we look at the ratios here, and maybe do a side-by-side, we look at the ratios, and you see how many utility, we have 3, we have curses and cubs, 4, but then if you look at it, there's only one of these that really grabs a resource over here. And this is going to grab a resource, and this is turn 0 interaction. But this is a big one, a little bit extra speed. big way to stop people. And then getting a hand look. So when you look at these four compared to this, I think Jake adapted a little bit. The overall just like neutral cards that he likes to play on both sides, very much Nicodemus' philosophy. Limited it because there's only so much you can do white-gray. But then you look at the dominance, still having Crowd's Choice and Resurrection. Like, really, when you look at the dominance, the only thing that changed here is Martyr and Falling Away. I would assume, no wages. He's doing Clinging instead. More so likely because of Goliath and Entrapping Pharisees, that he could push you out or hit one of them and then Christian Martyr the other. Falling Away works so well with Zacchaeus. So that's really the only difference. Other than that, it's the same DOMs. And then you look at the actual enhancement-wise, he has 6 evil, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 evil, plus 1 he can use as both, which we see up here too, carcasses. So really the same philosophy from a deck building perspective. And then from an evil character perspective, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 total. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 total. Same thing. So you can definitely see Jake's ratios. 2 fortresses, too good with a Sheol. He's not playing Sheol in this one because he's doing the black-gray, so he didn't need that. He was able to bring in something else. And then you look at the setup of what he can do here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 enhancements. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 enhancements. Right? We're seeing how he's building. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 heroes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 heroes with potential if needed. So same thing. And then the Lost Souls as well. So with Jake's, his ratios are the same. You can very much see how he wants to play and what he wants to do. I don't want to show Zach Gilbaugh's decks. If people message me things, I keep them private. But Zach Gilbaugh as well, I've seen 2 of his decks, and they very much follow the same ratios. So find out what works for you. Like, we can look at Jaden's and look at his ratios too. He's going to have the same ratios. We can take Chad's and then look at Soul Surfer. It's going to be the same thing. Find out your ratios. Find out how you want to play. Do you like more characters? Do you like more enhancements? Like, what do you like? What do you feel comfortable with? So that's why I wanted to touch on different people. All these players have had success. Jared hasn't been able to play as much, but Jared and Joe are great players, great deck builders. Josh and Jay, tons of success over the years. Obviously, Jaden and Justin. Obviously, Chad and Jeremy. Jake, Zach, myself. See how you like to play. All these play styles are all different. All these decks are different. Find out what you like, and then if you're going to net deck, bring in your own feel. Bring in what you're comfortable with. Know your ratios, and bring those in. Rob Smith, Caden, and Joe Mama, I would say they're more like a Chad and Jeremy, where they're going to play a little bit more. They're going to be more aggressive, fast, resource generated. But those are players that I've seen either share decks or do well, or I talk to a lot about philosophy and deck building. So that was other ones I wanted to bring up. But I would lump them all together. Very excited to see what Caden does at Nationals this year. He shared his deck, and what was crazy is no one did a thread on it. No emojis or anything. I wonder if it was just the timing, like when the deck was brought in. Deck list, if I can go to Crab on a Beach. That's one of his. I want to highlight one because it's really good. And I played Micah, and you can very much see Crab's ratios in his decks too. But he's cleaned it up a lot. Like, look at that pile. compared to, and I mean that in a good way, compared to, you know, this. So I played Micah, and Micah threw together a deck. You should also study this about for nationals and kind of take aspects from here and Chad and Jeremy. But I played Micah, and he threw together a deck. To be honest, this might be it. This is it. He threw together a deck, and and put me on the ropes. So I know it's a little blurry. Oh, this is not it. This is kind of where the basis started of it. Yep, and then he said, hey, look, and some adjustments. He made some adjustments. It's actually way further down. If I don't find it here in a minute, we'll keep going. It's a very small defense. It's easy to look at differently. I did want to highlight this one, so I'm on a mission now, I guess. But yeah, Crab, I wanted to talk about Crab because as you can see, he posts a lot of decks. So, but he does play an aggressive play style. He very much, if you looked at the decks he's posted throughout the last year and a half, they have been much more refined over these last few months. That's one that I grabbed from Jake. Baboony, Harrod's, this is a Harrod surprise deck. It's good to look at these decks that are just cleaned and refined and kind of see what they're doing. There it is. This is the one. Okay. This is our last topic, and then I'll go in. Now, if you see the first two that I showed you, because I thought they were them, you could see why I thought they were the deck I was looking for. Crab Caden had a deck idea, and then took out some aspects that didn't work, probably being Nick and Nor. We don't see it anymore. And brought in other things that did work. And you can very much see, I probably should have kept the other image up, but very much could see, if you look at that last one and you compare it to this, those similarities in what he first did. So he had a deck concept. He probably lost some games or didn't do as well as he liked and came up with this thing. And from my knowledge, he's doing very well. So if you look at this, this is a turn 2 deck out. And it's like, okay, well, then what do you do from, after turn 2? Well, you win. I say that because the opponent is going to have to stop. And he doesn't play right on or anything. This is full on speed, consistency, and power all jammed in one with just a couple blocks that he needs. Otho, Temple. Herod the Great, turn 1. Herod's Temple, toss. Entrapping Pharisees, turn 1. And then 3 enhancements to show off entrapping. If he has one of those enhancements, he knows he can just slave or deceiver to entrapping, boom, get a block. He knows he can Herod the Great Temple, toss, get a block. If you drew, he doesn't even care. He wants foreign wives in deck. Because if you draw with Matthew a bunch of cards, he's getting a block. And if he gets duplicity turn 1, he has a way to go to entrapping to where it's not a waste. Unholy Writ, turn 1 is amazing. So he has Writ and stocks to get rid of key things he doesn't want to have or to get a block. And then he has 2 characters in reserve that can also block. Probably the only person playing False Prophecy. And it's a great card. This is a card that it's tough to see the value from. I can look at the top 6. I can rearrange them. I can top deck them. I can underdeck them however I want. You can't see the value in this card. It's very good, though. Consistency between all the ways to get out. Temple, Bethlehem, and Chamber with Simon Peter, Resurrection. 2 of these 3 should be down turn 1. and he can get into these massive bands with Hospitality and Ascension and Child is Born. He has all three, so he can get these massive bands where he's going to reserve you, toss the next, reserve a card in your territory. He doesn't have Thaddeus in here, and hit your hand. So he's going to hit your territory, Star of Bethlehem, burning up the chaff, have protection, just it's blazing fast, and then he's going to Coming Prince to get back whatever he needs and have big bands and hit your territory. So very aggressive. This is probably the most aggressive speed deck I've seen right now. So just another deck I wanted to highlight in a play style. Now we'll go to one of mine, and if you've been here this long so far, I wanted to talk about all that first because I don't want to lose you where I just showed another Wilderness deck, right? This is a by the numbers deck. It's just a different approach. I've shown the defense before. I have a few defenses that I just drag and drop in. If I play white, I just kind of snag gray if I'm playing white. And I'm going to be honest, yeah, this isn't showing philosophy, is it? So it's 51 with philosophy. I don't know what. I missed something in this picture. Either way. It's 51 with philosophy. And if I play white, even though it's Moses, if I play white, I just kind of snag my gray defense and drop it in because this is what I want to talk about. I can go through different defenses, and I'm going to do that again. I'm just going to gear into some different, or ramp up, whatever it is, defenses. But as for this, we've very much seen by the numbers always dominate for a long time. Daniel Michael is like a hybrid by the numbers with toss, Michael Captain. And if you're unsure what to play, just put like a Silver Rush deck together because it's really good. And play Army of the Lord. And just have a really strong silver offense that bans and Michael Captain turn one and push. That will beat most players. But that's just another by the numbers. Lazarus, 24 Elders, like we've always seen, especially negating evil cards is way better. This is just by the numbers, but all my stuff works for me. So, like if I do a ban with Zadok, I have 2 CBPs. And most of the time I'm doing a band with Moses, whether it's just a Zippor to Moses or Aaron to Moses, I have Pharaoh's Daughter down. So all my enhancements work on Moses. Faith of Samuel, I can band in Moses. Word of Christ and Sin Offering, if I do Aaron to Moses, is CBP. And then Pharaoh's Daughter makes all 3 of these CBP, and I can get them back with Tabernacle. So I have 3 ways to get back an interrupt bounce all that takes from reserve, a negate top deck, or just an interrupt take. So the offense can kind of get itself out real quick. You're doing a Moses Rush deck. It should be able to stop a lot of other things. A little bit of built-in speed. I should be able to get out Cov Moses pretty quick when I want. And Book of the Covenant can either get out a Battle Winner from my deck turn 1, assuming one of my tabs are down. And even the heroes, like if you look at the heroes, Pharaoh's Daughter gets Moses, Medad gets whoever I need, Ahitub gets Aaron or Zadok, and I could always go Ahitub and then just grab Kababe, grab Tubby again, and then Tubby can go to Aaron to Moses, and Tubby's already gone, can't be negated. So I could always get the Protect Lost Souls from evil cards, go to reserve, and then go Aaron to Moses. So I could always have the protection, plus it's a turn 1 where I can go to Aaron since I have so many ways to Moses. Between Moses, Medad, Pharaoh's Daughter, Tubby, Offering of Wrongdoing, all these Lost Souls, I should be able to have like an Aaron Moses attack turn 1, if not turn 2. So I should be able to get some things going. Moses should always be down turn 1. It's kind of the point of the deck. Josh P would tell me, and this isn't a knock on Josh. I'm tying in the school of thought. Josh P would tell me, and Jay already has told me on one of my decks before. Uh, Take out probably 2 cards here and a card here. Bring in Virgin Birth, and then maybe like another star card like that reserved itself or something to draw one. Um, but it would probably be a couple more like David's Harp, Cub David, something to that effect, to where they're going for more consistency and I'm going for more ways to block. So my approach and why I put myself with Zach and Jake, this is not D heavy. This is balanced. And I think people are confused there on what D heavy and balanced is. I would have to probably move this many cards over to the defense for it to be D heavy. These would all have to be defensive cards. That's D heavy. Right now, I have a balanced deck. So yeah, there's still a lot of consistency. There's not as much speed, a lot of searching. I get the Book of the Covenant D1. I do have Denarius. I'll have the pretty quick Cove Moses, but also the Plague of Frogs. I want the Withdraw and Draw 3. I do want that in here as well. Oh. Why do I have 2 Sin Offerings? Sin Offering. I think Sin Offering is supposed to be in the deck, because I didn't have a good way to take it from reserve because I took out Storehouse, and I know that can sound crazy, but I took it out because I get Book of the Covenant so quick, and I can take Cubs, and my Evil takes out what it needs well. So the only thing is really Plague of Frogs, and I can Chosen Warriors to Plague of Frogs, and then go from there. So Sin Offering goes to the deck, and I'm going to be honest, I forgot what I moved. Clearly an Evil Enhancement. Oh well. No, that's correct. 6 Evil Enhancements and a Curse. But yeah, Sin Offering. I don't know how I took that from reserve. I didn't see a good way, so I moved it into the main deck. And then I moved Chosen Warriors into the reserve. But now I'm at 52 and 9. Sorry, I've done this video 3 times, if I didn't say that already. Either way, I do think Sin Offering should be in the deck between, like, all the ways to get, like, worst case is I can underdeck this with an underdeck and draw one. It's very rare that I'm not going to be able, that I get this turn 1 and not be able to play it. That's pretty rare. So I thought it would be fine in the deck, but I do need to move something out of the deck and into the reserve. And I didn't want it to be Sprinkled Blood. I wanted something to get turn 1. Huh. Well. We're going to move Plot to Kill. And the reason Plot to Kill is in there is it can hit Glory of the Lord. But I have 5 Evil Enhancements, plus Unsuccessful, plus Philosophy. So that's fine. Saul could always grab Plot to Kill and hit. I don't even need to hit Glory of the Lord. What you really need to do is hit their Ark of Salvation and then pop their Eliezer. So if you can get Eliezer gone, just try to hit their artifacts. I didn't have enough ways in here to get rid of everything. Like I have Chronicles. So I could either get rid of Glory and then play Chronicles, or get rid of the um, arc and get rid of their heroes. You'd have to capture their stuff. So really, it's just a matter of having ways in to where I can get around ish Glory Lord. I wasn't too worried about that deck because Moses is such a beast against Honeypot, and without Storehouse, like I can just recur with Tabernacle and Moses and just push against Honeypot. Like Honeypot's defense isn't good. It's just your characters don't work, and I can block you, and it's like, well, you can't block me. One, Holy Holies doesn't stop my band, so Aaron can ban to Moses. Doesn't stop Zadok either, or Tubby. And Moses is always down, and my stuff works, and then I can recur. So I'm not really too worried about pot with this build. So yeah, now we're back at 51 and 10. So, but yeah, that's my approach. I like more defense. I like a more balanced approach. I used to always play D heavy. I've adapted to current meta, and I still think a balanced approach is extremely strong. I am getting down to 50. So this is just one of my favorite decks. I'm still wondering on Chronicles, like, should this be Crowd's Choice? Should it be Mayhem? Should it be Grapes of Wrath? I don't know. This should be Daniel just in case. Oh, I already have Grapes. This should be Daniel just in case. If it gets reserved, then Chosen Warriors can take it. Just little stuff like that you need to look at. Sometimes I'll do a copy-paste of my Dominance and Lost Souls. And you don't always need to have the New Testament one. And if you don't need the Gospel one, then you play the super cool no words on it Son of God, right? So I'm still unsure about Chronicles. I really like Dominance where I can play them offensively and defensively. So Glory, Grapes, and Chronicles. Crowd's Choice would be really good in here too. The only reason Mayhem isn't in here is because I don't have territory class enhancements, and I would be losing, I felt, enhancements each turn from Mayhem, and I wouldn't be able to properly get 4, 5, or 6 like you should off of Mayhem. I'd shuffle 3 to get 3. I'd draw 6, but I'd really net 3. For a dominant, net 3 doesn't feel good for this deck. So right now I'm playing around with Chronicles because it's very much a by the numbers deck. So Chronicles kind of plays into that. And it goes with my whole Glory, Grapes philosophy of dominance that are good on both, like good and evil. I almost want to play just Wilderness and have 40 years because it is so good being able to play 40 years with Unity up here on good. And then I can just play 40 years while I'm blocking. Like that is another Daniel hitter as well. Same with Glory of the Lord. So, like if they play Glory of the Lord and they push with the band, like I want to be able to play 40 years, and now they're restricted from playing enhancements. They lose all but one, and then I block, with anyone here. I still very much play Shield, Murder's Command. I love Add to Battles. So yeah, that's where I'm at, 51. No Unholy Writ in this build. Brought an Offering instead. So this is a lot of my ratios in general. I've kind of been at 8 heroes lately with ways to get heroes. Between Lost Souls, Sites, Forts, whatever it may be. Because if we use Josh P's thinking, then we look at all of our ways we can make a hero, right? So Josh always says you need, I think it's 12 ways to a hero or something. But right here, would all be heroes and or ways to a hero, because Lawless could potentially show me Pharaoh's daughter, Darkness can get Pharaoh's daughter, and of course Dread can get me Pharaoh's daughter. And then I have the speed Lost Souls. So I have more than 8 heroes, right? I just showed you 3 Lost Souls and 3 other cards that are heroes. So that's 6 plus my 8 is 14 ways to heroes. Denarius also being a +4 advantage out of my deck. So I feel very good about having 8 heroes and being able to beef up the defense a bit and still have the same overall ratios. So yeah, that's the by the numbers kind of offense, where I get to really control the board. That's funny. I don't have a I don't have a way to Moses. So all that talk, I don't have a character at all. So hopefully they didn't have a hopper. Hope ain't a plan. So there's really nothing here that I'm able to do, even with all the ways to heroes and evil characters in the deck. Like, this just ain't it. And it's like, well, if you have too many enhancements, that happens. I mean, it's not a ton of enhancements. It's balanced. So that's just a weird hand. That's like a tournament hand you get, right? Like, you do all these goldfishes and then you go to a tournament and whiff. So I would still attack here, right? I'm still protected from the first, and I have a negate in top deck, so it's not like I don't have an attack. I would hope I don't go first and be able to draw, and now we're in business. Wouldn't need to show the star because I would lose my only hero. If they had Lost Souls or Hopper or something, we give them one and move on. It's not the end of the world. We didn't let them generate anything in battle. I like to get Nero first over Claudius. Go ahead and put it down first, and then we discard it to draw 3. And we don't get the darkness proc here, but that's okay. We have another way to a hero, right? If you're unsure about timing, you need to time yourself and practice leading up to nationals. You have 30 seconds a card to search, and you have 90 seconds total to push into battle. That doesn't mean declare. I do declare. I didn't say it. I declared it. That doesn't mean like you declare a battle. That means you actually went into battle. So for here, I'm good to attack. Like, I have Book of the Covenant next turn. I get a draw 1 off Moses. I have a CBP negate, and I have an interrupt draw 3. So I can push with Moses and get my draw 1. And then depending on what they do here, I'm protected from the first. I'm negating everything. If I just needed like numbers and I still wanted to draw, I could very much do this. Then we can underdeck 1 to draw 1. I really like having this, but I don't have Offering of Wrongdoing yet, so I can't just go to Aaron. I don't have Tubby or Offering of Wrongdoing. I can get Aaron here. I don't really want to give up anything else, so maybe we lose. It's probably Sin Offering because we have so much. And we draw. If I needed to do anything else, like, I could also do Sprinkled Blood up front if needed to. It all depends on what they blocked with and everything. But having Moses down, what am I doing? I had Moses down. My Lost Souls are negated. Like I could have always done a ban to 3 and then drop the glory, you know, which isn't bad. It's not necessarily utilizing your resources great though. I don't like putting down this Amalekite slave, but I do have too many cards in hand. Four dominance is really hurting me. I think we discard. I hate discarding philosophy this early. Especially with the woes in my hand, that's game changing. Where I can just negate their hand protection and then play philosophy. I love increasing numbers, especially when I play it first. I can negate things, and now they're prevented. Right? Doesn't matter because Pharaoh's daughter. But I have to get rid of something here. So, and that sucks with simulating the game. You don't know what you need and don't need. So sometimes I just kind of like to go through in my head of what I would discard. If this was crowd's choice, we're easy though, right? Boom, Son of God, done. If there's something down, I don't know. I don't like playing that. We have interrupts here. I hate losing my draw 3, but I was already way past time to make a decision. So the whole point of the deck, though, is we got Moses. He's down. We do have the incremental draw off Wilderness. We did discard our 3 here, but we do have the interrupt 3 here. We have an interrupt draw 3 here. Daenerys is down. Cub Moses, Plague of Frogs, Wilderness of Sinai. We very much have resource grabbing. Depending on what they do with this block or this rescue. I like going to Raisin. Here's another way that we just constantly want to get resources. And this deck, even though it looks slow up front, very much constantly can generate cards. And this is another really good block against Honeypot. I think we're going to see more people messing around with Honeypot variants, so be prepared for that. Can't do this, right? Moses is out. Don't forget your upkeep. And do we want to slide anything in Damascus? We don't have any upkeep triggers. We'll put Humble in Damascus. And then we could put Tabby down. And now we have our battle extension. And guess what? We're going to have our battle extension next turn. If this wasn't a Moses deck, then I would have Lost Child Found, and I would have Angel of God instead of Chronicles. And I'd play Lost Child Found off Tabernacle a bunch of times and get Angel of God recursion. That's a J trick. Now I have a bunch here to do. And if they had like a Humble out, we could Son of God that. And we could Tubby, Protect Lost Souls, go to reserve, go to deck, right? Boom, we got Aaron. Aaron can get a Tabernacle from deck. I don't think we have one, right? Just book. And then he can ban to Moses. And we are good to go. From here, we do have a negate that goes back to reserve. That's CBP. We have a negate here. We also have exchanges we can do through Tabernacle. If we wanted to get back increasing numbers, we could do that as well. We're not really losing resources in this deck from an offensive standpoint, and if we need to, we could always get back. And then maybe Orpid Apart comes back into this deck for a Tabernacle perspective. I don't know. Blocking wise, don't have too much. Like, if we needed to, we could Glory the Lord. It depends on what they have. I miss Duplicity and our Interrupt Draw 3 off Naaman and Raisin. Like Duplicity into Arrest in Philippi is really good on both Naaman and King Raisin. So, and of course on Saul, where you could take something else on Saul, and then duplicity. Um, so I pretty much have to give away Anish and kind of hope that Woes and Chronicles is enough. Multiple interrupts and negates are there, so maybe the cross comes in here. I don't know. Negated. We can draw one here. And we can just kind of prevent evil enhancements in territory if we want, or we can discard it and grab like our last hero. But we knew that's me dead because we just drew into Zipporah. So we don't really have much else. I like... Yeah, if we don't have our sin offering, we don't really have to go with Aaron. Like, we can just push with Zipporah. Zipporah is just free value. Now, do we want Tubby or Chosen? Really just depends on how we're attacking. Like, we can go same thing. Tubby, Aaron, Moses. Or we could go Chosen Warriors. Yeah, we could attack with Chosen Warriors and get back Sin Offering. Or we can get Plague of Frogs and just kind of have our multiple add to battles going. I just don't really like not pushing in with Aaron Moses, to be honest. This is kind of like something I don't need to do. So maybe I need to factor in another way to get Sin Offering. I didn't like Storehouse in here, but maybe that's something I need to look at where I can just constantly get Sin Offering and just push with these two with Sin Offering that gets itself over and over again. That to me sounds really good. So it'd just be a matter of which covenant, and I already know the brigade is clay. You may reserve an OT clay card from hand to take one from deck. So we could always just do Tubby with Covenant with Abraham, and that would work just fine. So I think, and maybe we don't need Chosen Warriors, but I think we could bring in Covenant of Peace and just rinse and repeat over and over. Or Chosen Warriors can go to main deck, and we could take out me dad. Like, I have so much consistency to Moses. This is an exchange from deck. So Chosen Warriors comes in here. I like me dad, but we have so much consistency, and now we can bring in Covenant of Peace. Of course, it makes me want to use Phineas, but we're using Covenant of Peace. To get out what we need, and it's also going to help us with the Zadok. Like, reserve an OT card from hand. If we can kind of constantly use Ahitub and just get out Ahitub as needed for Zadok or Covenant Peace and Offering, that'd be good. Just little things like that, and that's why goldfishing, you know? Like, I know this offense so well, I know this defense in general, and then it's still, you just go through and it's like, oh yeah, I guess I don't have enough ways to, this is really good. Aaron Moses, Sin Offering over and over again, that's really good. I should probably make sure I have ways to Sin Offering. And that's where I would reevaluate and bring in Storehouse, because you gotta have, this has to constantly come back. It's too good not to. If I can just go boom, boom with Tabernacle over and over again, it's like, here, you beat this. And Pot of Mana is really the only thing. Like I said, Holy Holies can't stop it, but Pot of Mana, and guess what? Zadok Sin Offering still works constantly, and Moses Tabernacle still works constantly. So lots of attacks where nothing stops me. Like, my not nothing stops me, but my deck doesn't stop me. Like I'm negating stuff, preventing enhancements. They all still work. So just a really good deck in my opinion, where you can factor in, build in more aspects to it. You can play 40 years, you can play Angel of God, you can play Lost Child Found. It just all depends on which way you want to go, um, and how you build it. What do you think is good? Do you say, hey, I think 40 years is better? And a lot of people don't think 40 years. 40 years is so good. Um, how good that card is. Being able to play it defensively, offensively, especially when I'm just pushing with Moses. So I do think 40 years should probably be in here. And maybe I can take out Zadok and just push this as a Moses deck. I don't know. But a lot of different ways to go. Maybe I factor in on the Lost Child Found Angel of God recursion, right? That's also really, really good, where I'm just constantly adding to battle every single turn with a negate. So, a lot of things there. Of course, you can bring in the Nashon shenanigans, add to battle with Nashon and stocks and everything, but lots of different ways. I just keyed in on the slam Moses down and buy the numbers, but mostly talking about the school of thought, net decking. When you take someone's deck, make sure you know where it's coming from, and then you can go from there. And kind of overall, when you do net deck, that make tweaks to it, or maybe take a couple decks into consideration. So that's all I got today. I don't know how long this video was. I apologize if it was too long, but I went over a lot of things. So I hope you enjoyed. Have a great rest of the day, and we'll talk next time. Thanks.